Bull Bear Buzz Podcast for decoding markets, fueling minds.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're kicking things off today looking at the Indian stock market, specifically Wednesday, April 23rd. It was quite a session, Seventh straight day of gains for Sensex and Nifty 50, really riding that positive global wave.
Absolutely. And that consistent upward move, it meant some serious wealth creation for investors.
Right. How much are we talking?
Well, just on that Wednesday alone, estimates are around 3 lakh crore added to investor wealth.
Wow.
And if you look at the full 7-day streak, it jumps to a massive 36 lakh crore. Really shows the power of that momentum.
It really, really does. So, okay, our goal today, our mission is to kind of dig beneath those big numbers. We want to unpack the key factors driving this surge.
Exactly. The why behind the what.
Yeah. We've looked at a bunch of sources to get a full picture, including, interesting stock moves, upcoming stuff. So let's dive in. What were the main things pushing the market higher? Okay,
so several things sort of clicked into place. A big one was less worry about the U.S.-China trade situation getting worse.
The trade jitters easing up.
Yeah. You had comments from U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent expecting things to de-escalate, and President Trump seemed a bit softer on tariffs. That gave markets a real confidence boost.
That makes sense. Global trade stuff always has knock-on effects, so stability is good news. What else?
We also saw, generally speaking, stable Q4 earnings reports starting to trickle in. We'll get into specifics later.
Okay.
And another key thing was foreign portfolio investors, FPIs, continuing to buy. Overseas money coming in. That added positive momentum.
Right. FPI flows are crucial.
And just underlying all that was a generally healthy outlook, a positive feeling about the Indian economy itself.
So a mix of global calm and domestic strength kind of feeding each other. And it wasn't just India feeling good, was it?
Not at all. Global markets gave a huge tailwind.
Yeah.
You look at Europe, France's CAC 40, Germany's DAX, both up over 2%.
Yeah.
The UK's FTSE up more than 1.5%.
Yeah.
And Asia too. Nikkei, Hang Seng, Kospi, all closing up almost 2%. That broad optimism definitely spilled over.
Right, the rising tide effect. There was that quote from Vinod Nair at Geojit Investments, wasn't there? Kind of summing it up.
Yeah, he pointed to better IT results than expected, that optimistic outlook we mentioned, and also the rally in U.S. tech stocks helping out.
Okay, so those are the big picture drivers. Let's maybe zoom in a bit. Within the Nifty 50, which stocks really shone that day?
HCL Technologies was a clear standout, big jump, 7.74%, right after their Q4 results came out.
Okay, earnings beat driving that.
Exactly. Tech Mahindra also did well, up 4.76%. And Tata Motors saw a pretty notable increase too, 4.44%. Gains in these heavyweights really helped lift the whole index.
Definitely some strong performers, but, it's never all green arrows, which Nifty's 50 stocks took a hit.
Yeah, on the flip side, Kotak Mahindra Bank and HDFC Bank both dropped 2.09% each.
Both down the same amount. Interesting.
Yeah, likely just profit booking. Investors cashing in some gains after these banks had a good run. Gresham Industries was also down significantly, about 1.98%.
Profit booking makes sense after a winning streak like that. Take some off the table. Okay, how about sectors? Big picture performance across different areas of the market. Which ones led the charge?
The Nifty IT index was way out front, surged 4.34%.
Wow, that's a big move for a whole sector.
It was its biggest single-day jump in 9 months, actually. Mostly thanks to HCL Tech's strong revenue guidance for FY26, which beat expectations.
So HCL really pulled the whole sector up.
Largely, yes. We also saw good gains in Nifty Auto, up 2.38%, and Nifty Pharma, up 1.40%. Healthcare and Realty also had decent days, up over 1% each.
So IT was dominant, but auto and pharma strong too. Which sectors lagged?
Well, that profit booking seemed to hit Nifty Consumer Durables, which fell about 0.96%.
Okay. Any reason for that one in particular?
Yeah, interestingly, Havells India put out a cautious note about demand for cooling products, like ACs and fans. They blamed the delayed summer in parts of the country.
Weather impacting stocks. It happens.
It does. And the banking and financial services indices, Nifty Bank, Private Bank, PSU Bank, Financial Services, they were all down a bit too, probably reflecting that broader profit-taking trend.
Fascinating how one company's forecast, like Havells, can ripple through a whole sector. Okay, shifting gears, volume. Which stocks saw the most shares actually change hands?
Vodafone Idea topped that list by a mile. A huge 51.4 crore shares traded.
Goodness, that's massive volume.
Yeah. Suzlon was also very active, 9.8 crore shares. And Yes Bank saw a lot of trading too, around 9 crore shares. High volume often means lots of investor attention, maybe news-driven.
Huge numbers. Okay, let's talk about some really dramatic moves. Any stocks hitting those upper circuits, big single-day jumps?
Oh yeah, we saw several hit the 20% upper circuit limit on the NSE. Mindtech India, Modi Rubber, Sigma Solve, Aptech, Fardman Special Steels, Country Condos.
Right, 20% in a day usually means something big is happening with that specific company.
Definitely signals strong positive news or sentiment.
And the other end, any stocks taking a big tumble, say over 5%?
Yes, there were about 16 stocks on the NSE that dropped more than 5% that day.
16, okay.
Names like Jammu and Kashmir Bank, Balaji Telefilms, Bazaar Style Retail, Zeltmach Design, and Tech, UMA Exports were among them. Could be anything driving that bad news, earnings misses, specific profit taking.
Right, it's not always market-wide moves. And beyond those extremes, we saw quite a few stocks hitting limits or highs, didn't we?
We did. Over 120 stocks actually hit their upper price circuit on the NSE. You had Godfrey Phillips India, Urja Global, plus Mindtech again.
Wow, over 120 hitting the ceiling.
And on the BSE, over 80 stocks hit new 52-week highs. Big names there like HDFC Bank, Hardy Hexacom, UPL. It just paints a picture of broad positive sentiment when so many stocks are hitting peaks.
It really does suggest strong underlying confidence, but even in a rally, some stocks struggle. We saw some 52-week lows, too.
Yeah, that's the other side. There were 25 stocks touching their lowest point in a year that day. Things like 80 Plus TradeLink, Infinitive Solutions, Retaju Industries. It's a good reminder, isn't it? Even in a bull run, individual companies can face headwinds.
Absolutely. Always exceptions. Okay, let's switch to IPOs, initial public offerings. What was happening there?
Well, the Tank of Engineers IPO got off to a good start. Fully subscribed on day one.
Okay, what do?
They make vehicle superstructures, for different industries. Price band was 133 to 140. Overall, it was subscribed 1.19 times. Retail portion 1.05 times. Good interest from institutions, too.
Any buzz in the gray market?
Interestingly, the gray market premium, or GMP, was 0. So trading around the issue price unofficially.
Okay, so a solid start, but maybe not explosive hype. Anything else on the IPO front?
Yes. Aegis Vopak Terminals got the green light from SEBI for their IPO. It's a pretty big one, 500 crore, all-fresh issue.
Aegis Vopak. They do storage, right?
That's right. They're a major player in third-party tank storage for LPG and liquid products in India. They plan to use the IPO money mainly for repaying debt and funding an acquisition of an LPG terminal in Mangalore.
Okay. Definitely a significant IPO to watch. Now, let's circle back to earnings. You mentioned stable Q4 results earlier. Any highlights?
Sure. Bajaj Housing Finance reported a really strong jump in net profit, up 53% year-on-year. Their net interest income grew 24% too. Share price nudged up a bit.
Nice.
LTIMindtree saw a more modest profit rise, 2.6%, but revenue was up a solid 10% year-on-year. They also announced a final dividend of 45 per share.
Okay, good for shareholders.
And Tata Consumer Products also had a strong quarter. Profit jumped 59% year-on-year, revenue up 17%. They recommended an 8.25 dividend. Their different segments, India Beverages, Indie Foods, International, even Tata Starbucks, all showed growth.
So, yeah, generally looks like a positive earnings picture unfolding, probably helping that overall market mood. Let's drill down into a few specific stocks making news.
Okay. There was Credo Siscon, a penny stock below 5. Its price jumped 40% recently ahead of their Q4 results announcement on the 24th.
Ah, anticipation buying.
Seems like it. They're in real estate and tech solutions. Then you had Adani Power, which had a really good run in April, up over 13% for the month and over 26% from its recent low.
Right. Any technical levels folks were watching?
Yeah, technically it was testing its 200-day moving average, which is often seen as a resistance level. Analysts seemed optimistic about their Q4 earnings due April 30th. They were looking at support around 549 euro, 530, and resistance near 610 euro, 655, maybe even 750 long-term if it breaks out.
Lots to watch there. What other companies were catching eyes?
Solar Industries India, their share price got close to a record high. It had surged like 50% in just 2 months.
50% in 2 months. Wow. Why?
Strong results for the first 9 months of FY25, highest ever earnings and profit. Plus, they have a huge order book, nearly 10,000 crore, including defense contracts. They're really benefiting from the Atmanirbhar Bharat push and defense exports focus. They even signed an MOU with Maharashtra for a big investment.
Impressive growth story there.
And Bharti Hexacom hit an all-time high after they did a spectrum deal with Adani Data Networks. acquired 400 MHz in several circles. Plus, the parent, Bharti Airtel, reported good subscriber growth.
So positive news flow in defense, power, telecom. But we also saw some weakness in consumer durables, right? Besides the Havells comment.
Yeah, shares like Voltas, Blue Star, Crompton were down too. Even though some reported decent profit growth, that caution from Havells about cooling product demand due to the delayed summer seemed to weigh on the whole sector.
Right.
Brokerages like JM Financial and Motorola Oswald also flagged potential concerns about sales and margins because of the weather. So maybe good underlying business, but near-term worries spooked investors a bit.
Interesting how weather plays a role. Any other company-specific news?
Nykaa, the beauty retailer, announced they've set up a new subsidiary called Nykaa Essentials.
Oh, what's that for?
It's going to focus on trading various consumer goods, so potentially broadening their business beyond just beauty and fashion.
Okay, interesting strategic move. Now, looking broader, again, real estate, private equity, what was the trend there?
It seems the slowdown we've seen recently is continuing into FY25. Global headwinds are still a factor. Investment volumes are down quite a bit from the peak in FY21.
Fewer deals happening.
Fewer deals overall, yeah. Though the average deal size is actually bigger. One interesting point. Foreign capital made a strong comeback, taking a bigger slice of the pie.
And within real estate, different segments performing differently.
Looks like it. Residential seems to be consolidating. Office space saw a big drop in investment, though there's some hope that potential interest rate cuts down the line might revive that segment.
So a shifting landscape there. How about M&A, mergers and acquisitions? Anything notable?
Metropolis Healthcare, the diagnostic chain, announced they're acquiring Dapic.
Dapic.
Yeah, a pathology and imaging center in Dehradun. It's an all-cash deal for about 35 crore. The idea is to expand Metropolis's footprint in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand.
Okay, strategic expansion in healthcare diagnostics. Now, we can't ignore external shocks. There was that unfortunate terror attack in Kashmir. Did that impact the market?
It did cause a ripple. The India VIX, the fear gauge, jumped quite sharply intraday, up 8.2% after the news from Pahalgam broke.
Biggest jump in a while.
Yeah, largest since April 7th. It reflected rising anxiety, and the stock markets definitely got a bit wobbly, saw some increased volatility in response.
Understandable reaction to that kind of news. What's the general feeling about the longer-term impact?
Well, the immediate sentiment hit was negative, obviously. But the analyst consensus seems to be that isolated incidents like this, while tragic, aren't likely to derail the fundamental strength of the Indian economy or the market long term.
Resilience is the key word.
Exactly. People point to the strong underlying economic factors. Of course, the situation near the border will be watched closely short term, but the view, like VK Vijayakumar at GJ mentioned, is that the market's positive trajectory, supported by those fundamentals we discussed, should remain intact.
So maybe a short-term blip, but the bigger picture holds. Okay, finally, let's touch on small caps briefly. Seeing some life there.
Yeah, the small cap index has been recovering a bit, and technical analysis highlighted potential upside in a few specific names.
Like which ones?
We looked at 5. Baldwin Pochini, 361 Women, Gadawari Power, and ISPAT, GPIL, LG Equipment, and Alloc Industries. For each, technical indicators suggested potential for upward movement, with specific support and resistance levels identified.
Okay, so potential opportunities popping up even in the small cap space. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the market action of April 23rd. A day that continued that strong upward trend, 7th straight game.
Driven by that mix of easing global worries, good international cues, and those sector sparks, especially IT.
Yeah. And what's really striking, I think, is seeing how all these different pieces fit together, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got global economics, sector news, company earnings, even unexpected geopolitical events, all interacting, all influencing the market narrative. It's such a dynamic system.
It really is a complex ecosystem. So for you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you some useful context on the forces shaping the market right now. Understanding these diverse factors, maybe even getting a basic handle on technical signals, can definitely empower you as you navigate investing. But, and this is important,
Definitely.
remember, this is just a snapshot of one day, one set of influences. Always do your own thorough research on companies and broader trends.
And on that note, disclaimer. The information provided here is purely for educational purposes. It is not financial advice. We are not SEBI-registered advisors.
Right.
Investing in stocks always involves risks, including the potential loss of your capital. Please consult with a qualified, SEBI-registered financial advisor before making any investment decisions. We are not liable for any losses incurred based on the information discussed today. And for unbiased updates, please subscribe to the Bull Bear Buzz podcast.